So, welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for joining yet another session on relationships. It's like a bottomless pit, isn't it? There's just always something else to learn and something else to talk about and something else that comes up. And I'm intuiting these sessions all the way. I never know what is coming up next, but suddenly there's a sort of sense and an awareness of something. So I choose that as the topic. And today's topic is true or false. And I know that a lot of the time there's great confusion in relationships because we don't really know what's going on and whether it's real or not real. And there can be a lot of confusion. So we're going to address that today. And hopefully by the end of the session, we'll all have a bit more clarity and some ways on how to deal with this confusion. So just for now, I'd like to just do a quick centering so that we can all come fully into this amazing moment of now. There's nothing else, is there really, available to us except for now? My daughter has a very cute little saying. What does she say? She says, "The past is history, the future is a mystery, and the present is a gift of now." Something like that. And it kind of works. I think she got it from something or other. So let's just come straight into, yes, it's nice, isn't it, Yen Chan? I love it too. She's mentioned that she loves that saying. Yes. Welcome, Jennifer. We've got lots of people on the call today. How lovely. It's so nice to be surrounded by you all, surrounded energetically and um, in the ethers. So we're just going to do a quick centering. So make yourselves really comfortable. And there's no right or wrong in this. Some people feel that they've just got to sit upright in the lotus position. I can't even do the lotus position. Just be comfortable. Be truly comfortable with yourself, ideally upright, so that you're alert. And we're just going to start with just taking a few deep breaths in through the nose. Exhale with an open mouth. And use the exhale as your opportunity to just let go of any tension, of any agitation, whatever's in the way from you being fully present and calm right now. In through the nose. Drop the shoulders, drop open the mouth, drop the jaw. Allow yourselves to begin to breathe now with the inhale and the exhale with an open mouth, which I always say is not the prettiest look, but we don't care about that today. What we care about is being fully relaxed. And this is a wonderful way of drawing full lungs full of air into your body on the inhale and a really true and deep exhale. And keep softening the body on your exhale. Just paying attention to the breath for now. And how it works for you. What it does for you. Big breath in. Exhale, softening the body. Drop the shoulders, soften the spine, soften the tailbone. Even pay attention to the skin over your skull, your scalp. Sometimes it tenses up and we don't even realize it. Just drop that. Soften the scalp. Drop the belly out. Let the belly go. A few more inhales with an open mouth. Exhale. You can sigh it out if you like. And begin now to just bring your attention inwards, traveling from our mind down into the belly. Just purposefully take that focus down into your belly and just be present there. Nothing you need to look for, nothing you need to do in this space inside our bellies, just simply be present. You'll see me shaking things out. I can feel the release. You may feel a little release. Just allow yourself a little wobble and a little shake as you soften. When you soften the body, when you soften your energy, there is a natural release because you're allowing flow again. Just be present in the belly with your focus in the belly. And if you notice any uncomfortable feelings, anything that may have happened earlier today or earlier in the week, any tension, any discomfort, any nervousness, any agitation, any frustration, whatever it is, whatever uncomfortable feeling it is, just watch it with an open mind. We're not going to align with it, we're just going to watch it. Take a deep breath into the belly or wherever that emotion is. Exhale, let it go. Let it go on the exhale and soften even more to it. So all we are doing is we're just simply present with that emotion, with that feeling. We may not even be able to label the emotion. It just feels uncomfortable. It may be in the throat, maybe in the heart, it may be in the belly, wherever it is, wherever you feel that tension, that tightening, that holding. Inhale into it. Let it go. And you may want to shake it out afterwards to really release it out of your energetic system. Few more breaths like this, just being open to whatever's available to you, whatever's showing up right now. Fully present with yourself, no judgment, just pure, loving observation. Neutral, loving observation. Loving is neutral. Just a moment of silence for you to do that. Real beautiful focus on yourself, on me, on what's going on inside of me, without reaching, just watching, like a bird watcher, or like one who would watch the sun and the clouds. Soft body. And now gently coming back to your breath, just focusing on your breath now. Nice big inhale, really big exhale, letting anything that's in the way of this moment of now and total clarity go, letting it go. 2 more deep breaths in, softening the body on the exhale, melting into the ethers, almost disappearing. Last one. Beautiful, lovely focus. And in your own time, just drop your head so that your gaze is facing your lap. And whenever you feel ready, just come back to the Zoom call. Beautiful, lovely. And I'd like to invite you to turn on your screens, your video screens, if you feel that's your heart's truth. If you really don't want to show your face today or at any point in time today, then that's fine by me. But it certainly is more helpful to me to be able to see into your beautiful faces. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hello, Juan. Thank you for joining. That's a lovely group of people today. So nice. So today I'm already ahead of myself. The topic is subconscious stories, actually. What is a subconscious story? How to identify it and how to remove it. And I'd like to say again that this doesn't happen overnight, because a lot of the time we are in our subconscious mind, in our subconscious states throughout a lot of the time in our lives. And the point of becoming awakened is actually to spend less time in the subconscious and more time in the conscious. So all of my Zoom sessions that we've had over these last months, I think this is the 13th, I think, has really been about developing awareness of all these things that happen in relationships. And today, the focus is on what goes on in my subconscious. What goes on in my subconscious that can actually influence how I behave in my relationships? Is anybody familiar with subconscious stories? And just show of hands if you're familiar, if you've heard that idea. Yeah. Okay, some of you it's new, some of you are familiar. Okay, so we're going to take a little plunge here to figuring out what a subconscious story is. Does anybody want to share their own version? And I always say, as you know, for those of you who are regulars on this Monday evening call, that there's no right or wrong. It's what it is for you, and that's very valid. Would anyone like to share what they understand to be a subconscious story? Anybody want to give it a shot? Or shall I go first and break the ice? Okay, I'll share first of all that my understanding of a subconscious story is indeed a story. That's very important. It is indeed a story, something important to remember. That I have told myself, I'm using the first person, that we have told ourselves repeatedly, yeah, throughout our lives about life, about other people, about men, about women, about work. I've written a list here. And not least, and perhaps most importantly, about myself. I'm the common denominator in my life, aren't I? I am the one that's always present in my life. So the stories that I've told myself about myself, stories, remember, have a huge influence on how I behave and how I respond to my outside world. And on these Zoom calls, we talk in particular about relationships. So how I respond to people that I'm in relationships with, and in particular, those close relationships that we're in with our loved ones, our nearest and dearest. So a subconscious story is a story that I've told myself for so long, repeatedly, for so long, that what's happened? I've come to believe it fully. And here is the description of the meaning of belief. A belief is an acceptance that something exists as true, even without proof. That's the description in the dictionary. So we are telling ourselves stories. It's quite funny, isn't it? And I'm glad you can see the funny side, because that's hugely helpful, actually. Yeah. The stories that we've told ourselves, we have come to believe as fact, as true about ourselves and about others, about life. We could have a whole bunch of stories about life that we've been telling ourselves, but who knows whether they're true or false? Hence the title of today's topic, True or False. Who wants clarity? Who wants clarity in all of this? Who wants to be able to lead their life from just pure fact? I certainly do. I'm putting my hand up for that one. Let's see. Yes, I can see some hands going up. Exactly. We're all in the same boat here. We want clarity, but how do we get there when there's just so many stories going on? Yeah. A lot of the time, and I mean, I wouldn't be able to put a percentage on this, but a lot of the time, and we're going to get a little bit deeper to this and we're going to intuit this a bit later, we are behaving from those subconscious stories. We are behaving from our beliefs about, let's say, men or women or particular people, or life and the universe. But whatever happened to fact? Simple things that we absolutely know are true. Yeah. It would be so nice and so freeing, wouldn't it, to be able to behave in our relationships from just fact. Oh yeah, that's fact, and no confusion, right? You just have that to deal with. So we're going to go there today. We're going to do our absolute best. But I want at this point to remind you that it's a journey. Yeah. Remember that we've been behaving from our subconscious for most of our lives, mostly in our subconscious. Somebody gave me a percentage the other day. What was it? 92% in our subconscious and 8 in our conscious, or something alarming. My job is to help you sort of, balance that percentage out somehow or other. And I do this work for myself every single day of my life. Yeah, because it's that important. And I've been doing it for some years. So a reminder that I'm going to be sharing today tools. I'm going to be bringing awareness to things so that you can spot these dynamics. But then the work is up to you. There is no quick fix pill here. There never was. Don't let anybody tell you that there is. There is no weekend workshop that's going to transform your relationships overnight. No, it's up to me. It's up to us to do the work. Yeah. So, what we have come to believe about ourselves through telling ourselves these subconscious stories is very much how we respond and behave in our relationships. And personally, I want out of all of that, because a lot of time, those subconscious stories, those beliefs about ourselves and others in life are actually, they have a tendency to be negative. Yeah. The subconscious stories that we've told ourselves over time have a kind of survival mechanism underneath them that's kind of triggered them. Yeah. And they often place a wedge between us and the other. Yeah. They're often like sort of ways of protecting ourselves from the others. And they can have a detrimental effect, because what we want to do is actually open up to them rather than shut down. Yeah. So we're going to look at that. So basically, a subconscious story is a story that I've likely invented, yeah, through a means of perhaps protection or self-defense about myself and other things in life and other people in life, yeah, that I have told myself repeatedly over such a long period of time that, you know what, it's true. It's totally true. Don't even go there. Don't even tell me that it's not true, because I can see it happening. It's yeah. It's become such a strong and deeply embedded belief in our subconscious that we are actually creating that as a reality every day of our lives. That's how powerful we are as creators. Yeah. Just to pick it apart a little bit, when you have a belief, yeah, that is so strong that this is it, this is fact, it's become your truth, yeah, you respond and react from it. And of course, then so does the other. They're responding from your reactions. That's how you create it. Yeah. You're actually behaving from it all the time. So we create those realities in our relationships from our subconscious stories. And we end up in these dynamics that are just not even true to who you are or who they are. So what are we missing out on? God only knows, a lot. Perhaps the most amazing beauty. I would suggest that we're missing out on the best part of our other halves or our parents or our children or whoever we're in relationships with. So I think it's a very important topic to address. So let's take the plunge a little bit deeper. For those of you who are new to the call, my format is usually 3 key eye openers. I try to do this in very simple ways so that you can go home with some key things to get your teeth into in your own time. So we're going to take the plunge into key eye opener 1. And I want to share with you some examples. Yeah, no, hang on a minute, I've jumped the gun a bit. Where is it? Here we go. Yes, well, key eye opener 1 is what a subconscious story is. And I want to share with you now a few examples, yeah, to help you identify this more easily when it pops up in your relationships, which I'd argue is quite a lot of the time. So here's a real example. Okay, I'm going to take myself. I'm going to just share with you what happens to me. And of course, I'm not out of the woods yet. I still have masses of stuff going on in my subconscious, but I have the ability to watch myself with detachment. And this is a key aspect of how we begin to become aware of what's going on. You become the watcher of yourself, of your thoughts, of your feelings, of your behavior, of how other people react. And then you can see a lot more rather than being in it and constantly behaving from it blindly. So it's been interesting. I'm actually staying with my parents at the moment in England. And of course, I'm with them a lot of the time. And sometimes we watch movies together. And my dad, more recently, I haven't noticed him do this before, but oftentimes he will remark on how beautiful a woman is, one of the actresses in the movie or something. Go, oh, wow, she's so beautiful. And he does it quite a lot of the time. He'll say things like, wow, she's luscious, and there'll be quite a sort of like steamy scene going on, and I'll be going, oh my God. And he's remarking on how beautiful she is. And my mum's in between. She usually sits in between me and my dad. And I'm thinking, gosh, that's quite sort of like poignant. And, I'm feeling uncomfortable about my dad's comments about how luscious this woman is in this actress. And I'm thinking, I wonder how my mum is feeling. And I'm going, God, I wouldn't want my husband to be saying comments like that, because I'd be going into, oh God, he fancies her more than me. He's going to be unfaithful. He doesn't find me pretty anymore. He's not attracted to me anymore. I'm giving you some extreme examples here, but this can happen quite a lot. Yeah, this is to help you identify. Yeah, I could be going into all kinds of mechanisms. And funnily enough, I've had this conversation with my mum. I say, Mum, how do you feel about it when Dad sort of goes, wow, gosh, she's luscious. And his comments are quite sort of, full on sometimes. And she goes, it's like water off a duck's back for her. So in that particular instance, who has the subconscious story? I do. Mum's fine. So for her, it's just fact. He is just saying, what a luscious looking actress. I'm going, oh my God, he's going to be unfaithful. He doesn't fancy me anymore. He likes her more than me. And all of those can be subconscious stories, but they're not. Are they fact? No. The only thing that is fact is that my dad is saying, what a beautiful woman. But what I've done is, through all of my associations that come from my subconscious stories, I've attached a whole nother reality to what he's saying and saying, he's being unfaithful. He shouldn't be saying things like that. And I'm making him wrong. I'm judging him. Can you see how it just sort of accumulates negatively? Yeah. And puts me in a horrible place and my dad. Yeah. This is just one very extreme. I'm taking it to extremes here because as I'm much more aware now, I can watch myself and see my vulnerabilities and let it go. And I'll show you how to do that. Yeah. But that's an example of a subconscious story. So while I'm sharing these examples with you, just have a little ponder. I'm going to ask you in a moment. Have a little ponder on where it is that something that is just a simple appreciation of a beautiful woman. I mean, this is just one example. Yeah, it doesn't have to be about women. It could be about anything, right? Could be escalated into a whole story about, oh, my husband's being unfaithful to me. Yeah. We're very creative individuals. Human beings are incredibly creative. Let's give ourselves that as credit. But we need to rein it in a little bit sometimes and be very careful what kind of tangents we can go off on that take us away from simple fact. And the only thing that's fact about that is my dad spoke about an actress in the movie and said how pretty she is. That's all. That's fact. The rest of it stems from my subconscious stories, yeah, which are, oh, men are unfaithful, I'm not beautiful, I'm ugly, my husband loves, prettier women or younger women or whatever, it could be so many things. I'm just giving examples. Yeah. They're not necessarily all real. I'm just trying to highlight this. So here's another example. And this is true. My brother was with us for Christmas recently, and I'm rather an unusual creature. I have chosen to step right off the hamster wheel of life and live quite differently. I'm lucky enough to be able to do it because I'm in a situation where I can at the moment. But I'm allowing life, instead of me planning my life and sort of making sure that I've got sort of my finances all planned out for next year and a job to go to and all of this. I'm actually taking a step back at the moment and allowing life to open up and unfold for me. And just, if I'm called and asked to do something and it really resonates with my heart's truth, I'll accept it, like whatever. It could be a job or it could be a meeting or whatever. That's how I'm living at the moment. I'm not planning. So just to put you in the picture, along comes my brother, who's very masculine in his ways and the opposite of that. And for him, life is all about planning. And he's like, Rosalind, have you got a plan? How long are you going to sort of like, be here and, let life just sort of unfold for you? Shouldn't you be looking for jobs, and shouldn't you be planning for, Uma, my daughter's next school, and da 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 da. And for me, that's not my heart's truth. But because I still have somewhere inside me some embedded stories that I should be planning, yeah, that I should be living my life the way probably most people do, which is, plan ahead, way ahead. I went straight into huge lack of self-trust and self-confidence. And I started to question myself, yeah. And so my subconscious stories are there. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not good enough for this. I can't manage in life. I don't trust myself. Can you hear the subconscious stories? They're subconscious beliefs about myself. I don't believe in myself. I'm not a good parent. I can't do this. I can't cope in life. I should be planning. And all of those things come up, yeah, in this conversation. And it went a bit pear-shaped in the end, because I'm so very different to my brother. Luckily, with all the work that I've done on myself, I could feel my heart's truth. But I did get very wobbly at one point. And I had to remove myself, do some work to remind myself of who I am, what my heart's truth is. And eventually I came back into my center. But I did lose my center quite badly during that conversation, because especially when it's your family, and this is why it's so important in our close relationships, when your family, your nearest and dearest, your parents, your partner, your husband, they question you, yeah, and you're doing something a little bit, off the wall or, radical, you can easily get sucked in because you've grown up with that all around you. Yeah. I've grown up with, with the idea that I should plan and everything, but I'm choosing very differently right now. So it threw me. But then when I came back to my center, I thought, okay, I'm good. I know what I need to do. I'm just different to my brother right now. And maybe, if I get the heart's truth to plan for something, then I will. But I'm really following my heart's truth right now. So those are two examples of what can happen in a situation where there's either a conversation or a relationship where you're behaving from your subconscious stories. Yeah. In my conversation with my brother, I started to sort of argue with him, and it got a bit heated, and it just went pear-shaped because I went into my fear that comes from my subconscious stories about, gosh, he's right. I'm wrong. I should be planning. I'm no good at this. I don't know how to live life. I'm insane. It got really bad, actually, inside of me. It got really bad because I've taken a step, quite a radical step. Yeah, and I'm the only one in the family to do this. So I'm up against it, right? Yeah, so just to show you, where those beliefs are about myself, where are those beliefs about you, yeah, that make you feel wobbly in those moments when, perhaps you're taking a heart's truth decision, which is very different to everybody else's, yeah? So, having shared those two examples, I'd like to open it up for you to just spend a moment, as we always do on my calls, of self-reflection. You probably already have got it going as you're listening to mine, of where it is. Perhaps choose just one person, yeah, to keep it simple for now, that you're in a close relationship with. Could be a parent, it could be a spouse or a partner, or a child if you're a parent. And think about moments in the past where you have perhaps, and don't worry if you're not sure about this, because we're going to have more clarity at the end of the session, where you might have responded from a subconscious story, yeah? Where somebody said something and you added on a whole narrative. Could be quite fun, but it's not fun if we get caught up in all kinds of horrible emotions and the relationship goes pear-shaped for a bit. Yeah, it can cause a lot of damage in a relationship. So have a little moment now. Just choose one person and see if you can identify perhaps in the last week or whenever, one that pops up where you think you might have, even if you're not sure, have responded from a subconscious story. The things to look for are something that was perhaps said and you just sort of like went off on one, maybe emotionally, maybe with your thought processes, and everything started to get horrible and sort of messed up inside. And perhaps you responded from that even and made it even worse by responding from it and then got entangled in that mess. Don't worry if you can't think of any just yet. If you can't, then we can come back to it near the end of the session where I will have shown and shared with you a few more ways of spotting all of this. We're just beginning to identify those subconscious stories and how they can play havoc in our relationships. Just take a moment to think about a reaction that you might have had that might have just sprung up from a total subconscious story, a belief about yourself or about them. Just allow it to surface in you. You may not be 100% sure because we're now looking into the subconscious and we're not familiar with the subconscious. We're not familiar with it, but it kind of like dominates our lives a lot of the time. And it's time to get familiar, right? Has anybody identified a simple situation or something that they feel comfortable sharing? Yes, Baharak, thank you, darling. You can start us off.
No, just one that that's not one, but I just find that I don't do well when people push a topic. Like, say, I reveal something about myself, and I'm like, I'm not asking for help, but they take it as they need to solve it, and they'll suggest something that doesn't quite match what I'm asking, and it's more a gripe they have personally, or they observe something about me and they think this is the opportunity to mention it. And I'm finding it really hard because it kind of just reminds me of my that they're going to do what, and they do what my family did, which is just batter me with opinions and control and telling me how I should act, how I should be, especially over things like food. And I'm finding it a very sensitive topic right now because I'm consuming, very little calories, but I'm gaining weight because I've got this thing, this two things which go against me, and I'm very insulin sensitive, and I'm also, coming down with like adrenal fatigue. So both things make you gain weight, and I feel like the stress of them pursuing that, even they like watching every little thing I eat, even though I'm eating below like 1700 calories, they're everything I'm eating, they're judging it. And I just go back to my childhood of like the same thing. My dad saying, he could never pronounce pasta, but he said, no, don't eat pasties. And I'd get really annoyed, and it'd be like every 5 minutes, and it just takes me back there. So
Yes.
I can't take it when people don't just let it go. And I found that the other day as well, when someone was suggesting how I should cook my food and what I used to cook it, and I was like, no, it's okay, I know what I'm doing, I've got a coach, and they're helping me. And they're like, no, what I am saying is correct, and this is because somebody has told me. And I'm like, okay, but it's okay. And they just weren't taking no for an answer. And I found myself like a tension building up in me, even though I'd said no, they weren't listening and they were a friend and I didn't want to upset them. And it's like home. I don't want to upset my dad, don't want to upset my mum. And so it just took me back.
Totally get it. Totally understand. Because I've been in so many of those situations, similar situations. So let's just take this. I'm going to try and put a sort of general description to this. Could we call this, Baharak, unsolicited advice?
Yeah.
And particularly sensitive when it is to do with food. Let's just make it general, okay? So can you identify what subconscious story surfaces that makes you just go and just sort of like just want them out of your space, or just feel attacked, feel, all of those sort of uncomfortable feelings? Could you just label it? Could you label a subconscious story, a belief about yourself that springs up when somebody's giving you unsolicited advice, and in particular about food, which is a sensitive issue for you? Hmm?
It's just like that I'm not trying, that I'm not good enough, as
Yes.
I am. And yeah, that I'm not trying. It's
Yeah, that
just,
I don't know how to do it for myself. Yeah, it
yeah,
makes you doubt yourself. I can't do this. Yeah.
so
Mm.
how can I try more? And I mean, nobody measures cucumber, and I'm measuring cucumber, for God's sake. It's a bit ridiculous. So
If that's what you need to do, then that's what you need to do. And maybe it's just an experiment and you'll figure out whether it works for you or not. Sometimes we have to go places that are different to what other people do, like me and my choice of just not planning anything in my life at the moment and letting things unfold, and
yeah,
letting, they say sometimes let go and let God. I'm kind of doing that, although I'm not religious, just to sort of put you in the picture. And same for you. Yes, you're experimenting and trying things out. And when you get unsolicited advice, there's a belief that perhaps comes up that maybe they're right.
also that my wisdom is not good enough. Like, I feel like
Just
that's
hear yourself when you say these, because this is a very important part of how we can remove these eventually. So my wisdom, I'm not wise enough.
like
Mhm.
I'm not, not smart enough to figure it out for myself. And I have people that think I'm really, I have got a brain, but I always remember like little things said in the background, like overhearing my parents saying, "Oh, we always thought my brother would be the one to go to university, not Baharak." I didn't see that in her cards, kind of thing. And it's just like, honestly, these kind of comments are just regular. And I get that sometimes even from my own partner, who says, "Well, you're not book smart, so." And I'd be like, "But I'm smart enough to figure out your work advice." Like, it's like, he doesn't mean to. He's just literally he he's not quite set up to say things without tact. Like he's,
Yes, I understand that.
yeah,
Yes, I know that very well as well.
yeah.
So yeah, so you've already you've already mentioned quite a lot of beliefs about yourself that, are they real or not? Yeah, something to think about. Just hold on to those, sweetie, for a moment. I mean, don't hold on to them forever, but just pay attention. Yeah, because we're going to look at that a little bit later on. Thank you very much for sharing, Baharak. Yeah, yeah, a lot of beliefs, yeah, about ourselves, and we respond from them. Yeah.
I don't think I
I
believe
just
it,
want,
just so you know.
yes.
I don't believe I'm stupid. Far from it. I actually think I'm pretty bright, but I feel
Mm,
frustrated that the ones nearest and dearest apparently
mm,
don't get it. And I'm like frustrated, and I'm thinking, when will this end? But it will never end.
mm.
So
Could there be, just, this is a question, real question, could there be moments when those conversations happen where there's a wavering belief in the self, where I'm actually, maybe they're right, or something like that, or whatever the subconscious story is, some kind of reaction that puts you in a place where you just can't react with clarity, you can't react from your center, yeah, and they're sort of like,
maybe the only feeling is like, oh, I don't have the words right now because I'm so frustrated. So I'm just going to say stupid stuff because right now I'm so angry. So I just keep quiet. That's actually my go-to, is just keeping quiet. Rather than, if it gets to a point where I'm so frustrated, I'll rant and then I'll stop and all of a sudden and just pull away and withdraw, because I just can't be asked to argue. So, but yeah,
yes.
just I don't
But
have the words in.
earlier on, yeah, earlier on you mentioned things about your own inner wisdom and stuff like that. So there may be a little something there. I'm just saying, I'm just opening up this can of worms. It's a can of worms. And it's not so nice to go in there sometimes, but just something to just look at and be very, very gentle with yourselves. Yeah. And I just want to interject here at this point because it's coming through. just to ponder on the idea, this is a slight tangent, but just do ponder on the idea that these people who bring up your sort of, who trigger you, right, who press your buttons and bring up all of these sort of things about ourselves that we may not like looking at or want to deal with, yeah, this could be a gift, right? I often say to myself, in my relationships, when I'm triggered, it's a gift that it brings up my pain or my frustrations, whatever, so that I can then actually heal that area inside of me that I've not healed yet. Yeah. So just a little in brackets there for now. Lovely. Would anyone else like to share just briefly? Yes, Jennifer, lovely. A
Hi.
subconscious story that you've identified. Hi there.
I think I don't know if this is on what you're getting at, but basically, last night I had an argument on the phone with a person I'm in a relationship with, and it was just something small. He told me the time of something that was happening the next day, and well, he said he did. He said he was doing something the next day, and then I asked him later on in the conversation, "What time are you doing that?" And he said, "I said 8 a.m. I already told you." And I said, "You didn't say 8 a.m." And I asked him twice in the conversation. He definitely didn't say it. But then he just continued to say, "You just never listen. This is what you're always like. You just don't listen." And then I felt injustice and I felt really angry. And I felt like he was just judging me. And I felt, yeah, it was a feeling of injustice. That was the main feeling. So I tried to argue back. And in the end, I just said, "Look, let's just go with that. You said it and I didn't hear it. We'll just leave it there." But I was still really upset. And the reason I was upset is because the story that was underlying was that I felt like he doesn't know me. If I feel there's an injustice, and even though it was about listening, it was something totally unrelated. But the part that got triggered was feeling that I wasn't seen by him and that he doesn't know me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the feeling of not known. I know this has come up before with us in past conversations as well, of feeling like our partners don't know as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what if, yeah, this feeling of injustice and everything like that, what if underneath that subconscious story, we were aware of our own inner truths? What if you were fully aware that he hadn't said what time this event was happening? Yeah. And there was no subconscious story. Would there have been an argument in the first place? Yeah, you get me here.
No.
This is a lovely example to go with. When we know our truths, he may or may not have said the time, but it wouldn't have become an argument because there wouldn't have been another trigger going on that comes from a belief that this is an injustice. Yeah, there's a belief there as well, right? There's a subconscious story going on there. Yeah. And on top of it, you don't know who I am and you should. Nobody knows who I am. Maybe there's a story that I feel misunderstood. I know I've got that going on. Less so now after my years of healing, but still remnants. It's the inner child most of the time within us in our psychological makeup. The inner child is often the one that feels misunderstood, alone, yeah, not noticed, not acknowledged. All of those things, yeah. But I promise you that when you do that work for yourself, you'll come into your own truth. And so whether it was 8 o'clock or 8:30 or not even spoken, it wouldn't matter. And this is where I want to take you. So I'm really grateful for your sharing, Jennifer. Thank you very much, because it's helping me express this not so easy to grasp concept, because again, I keep taking you into the subconscious in my sessions, and it's not always easy to identify these dynamics that happen. Yes, my dear.
I just have one more thing to say about it. So before I told my story, you said something about people who are in your life that trigger you. They could be a gift to point you in the direction that you need to heal. But what happens if you identify your subconscious belief that's unhelpful, but you just keep on living it? You find yourself repeating it in different situations in your life, and you know it's there, but you can't resist playing it out again.
Yes, it's a good question. Well, maybe you've identified it, but maybe you haven't removed it.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just identify, and that's key. You're ahead of me, because my next key eye opener is, I think it is one of them, is how to remove these things. So we're getting there. So nice question. Either you haven't removed it, or, do remember that there are layers in healing. That's why I keep saying it's a journey. Yeah. You may have removed a subconscious belief, but there may be something else stuck underneath that's going to pop its head up. You may have even rawer moments where you feel even more upset. Yeah. Don't be demoralized when you've done a layer of healing and then something else happens and you just go back into hell and everything looks worse. This is really important. Yeah, I've been on a healing journey for years now, and I do still find myself in that trough of hell where I think, oh God, I'm never going to make it. That there's a subconscious belief, right? Yeah, it's just because I'm in that moment. But I always remind myself that the darkest hour is before dawn, and I can pull myself out of this. And it's just another deeper layer. The deeper you get, those subconscious stories underneath, there may be a very fundamental subconscious story is that I'm in this all alone. Nobody loves me. Nobody understands me. You might get to that underneath it all. So just allow it to be a process, yeah? And be very gentle with yourself, and also remember that it's a journey and there are layers to these things. So somebody might trigger you. You might have the presence to go into your room and just do some healing. And then tomorrow you'll feel triggered by the same thing, but a whole lot worse, because a lot of the time it is that kind of worms that we've opened up. So just keep on keeping on. I really invite you, don't give up. We have spent our lifetimes, not just our own lifetimes, but if you believe in past lives, also past lives. I believe in them, but it doesn't matter whether they are or not. We can have subconscious stories that come in from our previous lifetimes, or if you don't like the word past lives, then just keep it at subconscious stories. Yeah. We also have societal beliefs pounding at us all the time. And we've all behaved for millennia in the subconscious. So the work that is done to bring you out of the subconscious cannot happen overnight. I don't care how wise you are. I mean, maybe you were just struck by lightning and it does, those moments and things do happen to some lucky people. But the majority of us, I'm one of them, it is a journey. You just keep having to turn up for yourself. And this is so important. Don't give up. Don't give up. And on those days when you think, oh, to hell with all of this, it's just not working, those are the days when you really have to remind yourself, don't give up. Yeah. So lovely sharing. Thank you. Okay, so now that we have a kind of idea of what subconscious stories look like, how they might pop up in relationships, how we might respond, and we can come back to this later, I'd just like you to intuitively, because this is a very difficult one to sort of like pinpoint, I want you to intuitively, so just take a moment to turn your focus inwards and ask yourself this question, or just listen to me ask it and just answer it for yourself intuitively. From a scale of 1 to 5, I'm going to rate myself on how often I respond from subconscious stories. 1 being I respond from subconscious stories all the time, and 5 being I'm totally lucid and I never respond from subconscious stories. So 1 is the not very nice scenario of I do it all the time, and 5 is I never respond from subconscious stories at all. Okay, so ask yourself that question. Yeah, and just intuitively rate yourself. Don't try to figure out too much in your mind. Just let the number turn up. It could be 2.5, it could be halves. Yeah, just a moment, Baharat, my love. I'm with you in a moment. Okay. And just when you're ready to share, I'd love to see where you're at. I'm going to do this for myself as well. Whoa. When you see me wobble like that, it's because I've got a release going on. Oh, okay, I got my number. And of course, it will vary from one person to another, but in general, and perhaps with a specific person. Who would like to share? Who would like to own up? And this is good owning up. This is really healthy self-reflection, because this is what you can get your teeth into. If I have admitted to myself that I'm at, like, let's say 1 on the scale, then, you know, I've accepted that this is a reality about myself, but I know that I've got work to do, right? If you haven't accepted this about yourselves, then there's no work to be done, and you're going to stay at square one. We want to evolve, right? Sandra is sharing. Where are you, Sandra? I can't see. Oh, there you are. Yes. 2, giving yourself a very honest 2. Thank you for sharing. Yes. Thank you. Anybody else want to share? I should look at the group chat. I'm not very good at looking at it. So Baharak 4. Is that right? Am I right in saying that? Putri 3. Yes. Nice sharing. Does anybody else? Jennifer, want to share?
I don't know how to answer the chat, sorry. I just put 2, but I said it depends, because it's 2 when it's with people I care about and value, but it's mostly 5 with the general public or just anyone. It's only 2 for family and close people.
Very important point. Yes, of course. You know, it's our nearest and dearest that are going to bring up all of our stuff, especially our subconscious stories, yeah, because they're the ones that know exactly where those buttons are, and they're just going to go, and they're going to keep their finger in there until you just explode or heal or whatever it is, yeah. Of course, it happens less with, you know, people at work or, you know, passing acquaintances and stuff like that, because the relationship isn't so intimate, right? When the relationship is intimate, they're more under your skin, right? You know, they know you better, you know, you let your guard down, you know, the mask is off and you're being yourself, and all kinds of things can happen. Yeah. Lovely. Has everybody shared then? Are you all good to go? Yes. Well, I'm about a 3.5. And again, like you said, Jennifer, it depends on the relationships. But I have to say, I'm much, much more aware. Sometimes there can be a difference between your awareness that you're responding from a subconscious story and your ability to not respond from it. Like today, this morning, I lost the plot. I still lose a plot, even though I'm here teaching you about these things, I'm still human and I'm not out of the woods yet. I lost a plot, but all the way through losing the plot, I was very aware that it was my ego freaking out and losing the plot. And there's part of me that's now so detached, the observing part of me, that I go, okay, yeah, I'm having a freak out. okay. I just took myself away, removed myself, went into the garden, just did my healing, went in. And I had to stop because I had this call to do, but I've still got some work to do on that. Yeah, I've still got some healing to do there, but I have the awareness, and this is what I want. This is the starting point of being able to heal it. Beautiful. Okay. So let's move on now to key eye opener 2. Hello, there's a little person there. Hi. How gorgeous. Hi, sweetie. Oh, he's adorable. Hello.
How can you go now?
Divine. So sweet. Is he your son?
Yeah.
He's beautiful. Our children are just so special. They're just bright lights. I love them so much. Key eye opener number 2. How to recognize a subconscious story. Now we're going to get into the thick of this now. How can we recognize? We've already kind of like pinpointed, you know, what a subconscious story is, and we've sort of identified them so far, but how can we really now recognize how this shows up? There's one key aspect here, and it's to do with our emotional response. Yeah. Our emotional response is a very helpful way of identifying a subconscious story. Yeah. And it's in particular the type of emotional response that you're having. In relation to a particular situation. So what we're looking at now, we're going to go a little bit deeper. In order to recognize the subconscious story at work, we want to look at our emotional response with regards to a particular situation or something that might have been said. When you're responding from a subconscious story, a lot of the time, can you just mute your microphone, please, my love, so that I can just because it's not always easy to get these points across because they're quite sensitive. And yeah, thank you, my love. Thank you. Love your son. He's gorgeous. Just need this space to be able to say this. A lot of the time, the way you can recognize a subconscious story at work is by looking at your emotional response to a particular situation. A lot of the time, that emotional response will be, here's a key word, disproportionate, yeah, to the event itself. That's the key first way of identifying it. Just like Jennifer said, she sort of started to go into all this kind of stuff because her boyfriend or her partner didn't mention what time the event was on. And then there was even an argument about that, right? My emotional response to my dad saying, wow, what a luscious woman she is. And I'm going, oh, my men are unfaithful. Disproportionate. Do you see? So that's the key thing to look out for, yeah? If you see that you are reacting emotionally disproportionately to something someone said or an event that's happened, you are likely in a subconscious story. And I would say at this point that it isn't, and you've heard me say this before for those of you who are familiar with my calls, it isn't necessary to regress into childhood and figure out what the subconscious story is. You'll be pleased to hear. It's old hat that. When I started healing 20 years ago, we were doing that. And it takes years and years to heal if you're going to do that. It's not absolutely necessary to figure out the why this is going on. All you need to do, and we're going to get to this, is heal the feeling, heal the emotion. Whether we know what it is, whether we know how to label it, it doesn't really matter. You're feeling it, and that's what matters. And we don't want to feel it because it feels horrible. Yeah? Okay, so you'll be pleased to hear that you don't need to go and find out and explore and do regression therapy to figure out what the subconscious story is, because we'd be here for eons because there are so many of them, right? Don't need to go there. Just heal, 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 let it go, let it go, let it go, and return to fact. Okay, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So the key eye opener number 2, in order to recognize a subconscious story at work, the first thing to look out for is to notice whether your emotions are disproportionate to the event or conversation itself. Now, sometimes, I hasten to add, it's not always easy to do that because your beliefs are so strong about what they've said that you feel, let's say they've said, oh, sorry, I can't meet you tomorrow. And you're feeling rejected and attacked. And in your eyes, in your vision, you're seeing what they're saying as an attack. So it's not always easy to identify that all they're saying is, sorry, I can't see you tomorrow because I'm busy. Yeah. So this is where we just need to just question it a little bit. Look at, am I? Am I responding? My feelings are really strong right now. The chances are that if your feelings are really acute, chances are they're coming from an old subconscious story. Yeah. And it's disproportionate to what's been said or what's happening around you. Yeah. Something to just look out for. So I'm inviting you today to just be the kind of like detective, your own detective, and just go, look out for those clues. Look out for those feelings that may be like, yeah. And just ask yourself, and please be very, very gentle with yourselves, because these are actually beliefs that have affected your inner child. So it's the child that we're working with right now. Yeah. And we don't want to make it worse by going, oh God, I've gone into that subconscious belief or something. We don't want to go there. We want to go, oh, okay, maybe I'm thinking about this. And just with that, maybe you take yourself away when the conversation's finished or whenever you can, and you just have a think about it, have a ponder on, could this be a subconscious reaction? And either way, to tell you the truth, if it's really painful, just heal it. Go into healing straight away so that it doesn't linger for too long. So, an emotional reaction that's disproportionate to the event often is very acute. You're feeling a lot of pain. And not only that, it lasts longer. It just goes on and on and on. And you wake up the next day and you're still feeling pained by whatever happened, right? So it's not just the level of acuteness of the feeling, it's also how long it lasts. So those two things are also something to look out for. Yeah, I'm in so much pain right now, and I've gone to bed and I'm still in so much pain the next day. Oh, they said this, and yeah. So that's also perhaps something to look out for. They can stick around because they're so powerful, those subconscious stories, that we're actually holding on to the pain because we believe that it's true about us. Yeah. We believe that what's happening is true and that we should be hurt by this. Yeah. When perhaps it was just a passing comment. So feelings of confusion, irritability, feeling unsafe. These are key things to look out for. Feeling unstable. And all of the things that can come underneath that, all those the roots to that, like fear or whatever. Those are things to look out for. You can perhaps just practice. I'd like to invite you to practice sitting around maybe the dining room table or in the family room with your family members and those nearest and dearest to you. And just spend a little bit of time, a little bit detached from the conversation and watch. I do this all the time. It's quite fun. Yeah. Sometimes I interject, but sometimes I'm just quietly watching myself, how I'm feeling inside, and what's being said. It's a very nice way to just begin to become the observer of yourself. And I would like to add, it is absolutely key in awakening to become the observer of your life and everything that's going on inside. Really important and a very beautiful place to be. So just enjoy, when you're with your partner or with your family, just watch them with no judgment. Yeah, very important. We're not judging at all, because then we get lost in subconscious. We're already lost in a subconscious story, likely, if we're judging. Just allow yourself to watch with a neutral mind. Okay, that's being said there. I'm feeling like this inside, and just practice becoming the watcher. It's a very nice place to be. I am now most of the time in the observer, and I'm so much better. I still have my moments like this morning where, I get triggered, of course, but I'm much more of the observer in my life, and it's a very nice place to be. Very nice place. You're a bit removed. You're still living. You can live more intensely, actually, because you don't have the fear of going under, because you're more able to manage yourself, because you have more awareness. The next thing to look out for, how to recognize the subconscious stories at work, is patterns. We all know. Repeated patterns, things that keep cropping up, that keep coming up. And you think, I've had this conversation before. We've been here before. I felt like this before, and I'm still here. Loops. Yeah. Patterns very likely come from your subconscious stories. Yeah. And they haven't been resolved yet. That's why they're still occurring. And they still occur, as we said before, for other things, to help you be aware of it. There it is, and heal it, rather than compound it again and again and again. Yeah. How many people have had multiple relationships? Yeah. And you've gone from the same pattern with one person to the same pattern with somebody else eventually when you become intimate and stuff. These are your subconscious stories at play. Yeah. Similar emotions, similar responses that you're having inside to something that somebody said, that somebody else said in a previous relationship, or my parent, and I'm responding this way. That's your subconscious story at play. So look for patterns, look for repetition, emotions that keep coming up again and again and again, and you just feel like you just looped. That's a subconscious story at play. A belief, a deeply entrenched belief about yourself that needs looking at. Because chances are it doesn't feel comfortable. These subconscious stories are usually negative, like I said, because everything that we live that's happy and fun and light and that triggers happy emotions just flows through us because we are energetic beings. Energy just naturally flows, right? Uncomfortable experiences, experiences that plunged us into pain in the past, we kind of tend to sort of hold on to. We have a sort of shock reaction to. The energy gets stopped and there's a sort of tension that happens inside us and it gets held inside us, literally almost on a physical level. In fact, in many cases on a physical level. Yeah. And that's why it's stuck. It got stuck inside us like a stuck record. Yeah. Just playing that same bit again and again and again. Yeah. And it's up to us with our own awareness to notice that it's stuck. Oh, there it is. It's got stuck. It keeps occurring. This emotion keeps coming up. These triggers keep triggering this kind of emotion. It's time for me to unstick this. And then we do the healing. Okay? So repetition is a big one, yeah, and something to look out for. Another one that's quite closely related with the first point I made about disproportionate reactions. Sometimes the reactions are disproportionate to the incident or the comment. Sometimes they are repeated. Yeah, you notice, oh God, I was doing this last week. Sometimes they're totally irrelevant. Sometimes there's absolutely no relationship between your emotional response and what that person said or did. Likely there's a subconscious story in the way that's believing that that person is doing something to you or saying something to you, and that is the subconscious story that's triggering the emotion, not the incident. Do you get me? I'll say again, yeah. Sometimes our emotional response to an incident or a comment that somebody might say may look and is totally irrelevant and unrelated to the incident and the comment. Yeah. But what it is related to is the belief that you're telling yourself that's reacting to the comment. Let's say somebody says, oh, I'm going to go and have a beer with my friends tomorrow. Oh my God, he doesn't love me. I've been doing healing sessions with people who have those issues, right? It's quite extreme, yeah. I'm going to have a beer with my friends. Oh, he doesn't love me. Yeah. It's totally irrelevant. What is relevant is, yeah, if somebody's not paying me the attention that I need, they don't love me. There's a subconscious story, yeah. If they're not behaving according to the way I need to be loved, they don't love me. If they prefer to go and have beer with their friends than spend an evening with me, they don't love me. Yeah, you see all those are examples of subconscious stories that could happen. Yeah. So be on the lookout for an emotional reaction that may have absolutely zero to do with directly the actual event or comment. Mm-hmm. If you write these pointers down, it can be quite helpful. And I know it seems like a lot of work. Oh God, how can I do this? You know, because when we start to sort of explore the subconscious, it can feel like a humongous mountain to climb. So take it in small steps. And I would say, in my experience, because I've done this a lot, the easiest way to do it is to just watch. Be the bird watcher. Be the one who just hovers a little bit above the conversation. And then sometimes when you get sucked into it, allow yourself, if you have the presence to just watch yourself being sucked into it. I've got sucked into things recently. I got sucked into some COVID scenario the other day because I'm actually quite neutral in the COVID thing and I watch it, whether it's a conspiracy or real or the vaccines or this or, you know, all this confusion that's going on. I, most of the time, am able to just watch it. Okay, this is interesting. It's just interesting for me and quite entertaining at times, but I'm not emotionally sucked in, except for the other day when I made a comment, and my family are massive egos in my family, and they've all got these huge opinions, and I got sucked in and I felt horrible inside. There's my cue to go and do my healing. Yeah. So when you do, you will get sucked into things because we're not out of the woods, right? We're not fully detached yet. But just a nice way to become detached is to just, okay, I'm sucked in here. I'm just going to watch myself be sucked in and see how I behave. Keep practicing that. And I promise you, you'll come to a place of greater calm and greater stillness, greater awareness of yourself and others, and just be more detached. Yeah. It's a detached place, but it's a very nice place to be. Doesn't mean you're not living life and fully involved in life. It just means that you can watch yourself doing that. It's very nice. So sometimes emotional reactions can be very painful and have absolutely nothing to do with what the person said or did. So look out for that. There's a subconscious story going on definitely in that case. Yeah. And whether I know it or not, I've got something to work with. What have I got to work with? My pain, my fear. I may not know where it comes from, but I'm just going to sit and heal it. Yeah, I'm going to let it go. I'm going to soften to it. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to observe this feeling. I'm not going to align with it. I'm going to observe it. I'm teaching you very briefly how to, a little technique here. I'm going to just observe the feeling. You know, some people talk about embracing the feeling. I'm not sure I like that because you're kind of like, feels a little bit too close. Again, here's the observer, where you can become the observer. Just watch, watch, watch. Very softly. Today I had to be very vulnerable with my feelings and just go, okay, there you are. Watch it very vulnerably. It's so beautiful. And as your very soft energy when you're watching those uncomfortable feelings will allow the feeling to just go and float away like a cloud. Takes practice. It takes practice. And I'd just like to say that on the Ohana Joe Awake platform, there are some guided meditations of mine that you can perhaps look for that show you this technique of just watching your feelings, softening to them, being really vulnerable to them, and just, okay, there you are. I let this go. I let this go. It's a very nice technique, and it's the quickest I know to heal pain. All right. So are there any questions at this point that anybody would like to ask before I move on to key eye opener number 3? Yes, Baharak.
Yeah, you said that, you know, a lot of times it's you have to be careful of, I think you said be careful of your reaction because it's actually might be more on you kind of thing.
Say again.
The last, I don't know, you said something about, sorry, I completely can't remember the exact word you used.
Say it in your way. Say it your way.
Just that, like, you know, sometimes your reaction is not the action of the person, and your emotion, it's all about your emotion, it's not
disproportionate.
Yeah, it's disproportionate. But what if, you know, how do you tell, how can you tell when it is, and how can you tell when you're actually dismissing your own emotion to a real reaction that should be normal, really, because what they've done is not great.
In other words, the question is, how can you tell a subconscious story from the truth?
Yeah.
What a question to ask.
Oh.
The truth of the I'm coming to that.
Okay, sorry.
Let me come to it, sweetie.
Yeah,
I'm coming.
It's
a beautiful question, and it's a question that I had to answer in this course, so I've got a little section on it. Yeah, but I'm just gonna hold back and just it'll come. I'll come to. Oh no, it's next. It's the next page. So you're right on it. You're right on the button. I love how in sync we are. Yes, Jennifer. So I'm coming right to that in a moment, my sweet. Yes, Jennifer.
Sorry, I don't know if I was going to ask a question, but it's probably the same, but I'm going to ask it in a different way, and it might be the same. So it's how do you know if you are being the observer or just being in denial? Is that the same thing? Because if you're the observer of the situation and you just let it like go water off a duck's back, how do you know if you're just being the observer or if you're just pushing it away and not dealing with it?
Well, the chances are that if you really are being the observer acknowledges, yeah. The observer doesn't just go brush it under the carpet. So it can be challenging. And I like your question because it can be challenging to be the observer, because sometimes we are observing very uncomfortable feelings. You know, I've had moments when I've observed acute fear that I felt like my whole world is crumbling around me, which it wasn't necessarily, but the feeling felt like that. And to be able to observe that without sort of like denying it takes a bit of practice. Yeah. But if you really are observing, then you'll see it there. And there is a difference. Yes, there is a difference between observing your emotions. When you're observing and you've got fear, you're not denying it at all. Yeah. Or whatever the uncomfortable feeling is, you're watching it. Yeah. And my invitation is to soften to it and just let it go. Yeah. Yeah. There's a big difference between observing and brushing under the carpet, which we can do very easily. And we've developed, without really even knowing it, so many techniques to just turn a blind eye to pain by trying to explain it in our minds as a classic. Oh, I wonder why I'm in pain. I'm in pain because my dad or my mum did this to me. I'm banging my head and totally out of my pain. I got nothing left to heal. Why? But I know where it comes from. Do you see why I'm saying that it's so important to perhaps not try to figure out what the subconscious story is and to just deal with the pain? Yeah. There will be 1,000 subconscious stories to one horrible feeling. Might as well deal with the feeling, right? And pluck it out from the root cause. Does that answer your question, Jennifer? Sort of, yes, I hope so. Okay, so we're coming to Baharak's very interesting point, and I hesitated about including this, but I thought I have to because they're going to ask it and they have to know. Okay, so how do I differentiate between a subconscious story? And it's a very good question, because when I'm caught up in my subconscious story, it looks real. That's why I'm reacting emotionally to it. It looks real. How do I distinguish between a subconscious story and fact, the truth? Yeah. It's a great question. Fact. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Fact, right? Undeniable. No beliefs that, I think, I believe, I don't believe that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. I know it does. Can you feel that knowing inside you? It's undisputable. Facts are undisputable. So if there's anything that might be disputable, just observe and look. I'm inviting you to observe and look because it's not always easy to peel away the subconscious story from the truth. And I don't have an answer to give to you that you're going to like that much. And that's the truth. Yeah. Here's something that somebody told me not long ago in my healing, one of my healers actually. Truth is what is. Truth equals, you can write this down if you like, truth equals what is. Ego is what distorts perception of truth or of the truth. And you could put in brackets next to ego, subconscious stories. Or you could replace ego, if you like, with subconscious stories. Distort our perception of the truth. You see where I'm going with this? You're not going to like where I'm going with this. As you heal your subconscious stories, as you transcend the ego, your perspective of the situation changes and becomes more clear. And then you can identify the truth. There's no way out of this. Because if we have got masses of subconscious stories and we're behaving from them all the time, it's very difficult to know what the truth is. But the more you practice bringing awareness to your subconscious stories through these little pointers that I'm hoping to help you with, yeah, the more able you will be able to see the truth, yeah, your own truth as well. Yeah. This is a wonderful journey because it takes you home to your truth. The truth is that my father just commented on a beautiful woman. And actually, perhaps I can appreciate that. How lovely for a man to enjoy the beauty of a woman, right? Instead of going, yeah. It comes with the journey. Your ability to identify the truth may not happen straight away. Yeah. Clarity comes as you clear out the mess. Yeah. And that is addressing the subconscious stories, healing the pain. So keep healing the pain, keep healing the pain, and then you'll come into your own truth. And it is a journey. But I promise you that there does come a point where you can see the dynamics happening, you can see the truth much more clearly. And I get to see it much more clearly now, and I feel so much better. I'm less caught up in it. Yeah, of course, I still get sucked in sometimes, but much less so. And as a result, my relationships are a whole lot better. My relationship with my daughter is 1,000,000 times better than it was just 6 months ago. My relationship with my husband, because I'm able to own my own stories. Like, okay, I'm doing this again. Here it is again. Okay, it's just time to just close the doors and just heal. And then I can open the doors again and be in a much better, real space with my husband. Baharat, did you have a question? You raised your hand. Was there something there, sweetie?
No, I was just thinking, like, when you're saying about observing, it's like, say you were in a relationship and it was quite abusive, for example. I'll give my ex as an example, where some of the words were very abusive, and also a little bit what they said was denied later, like as if they'd never said it, or things like that. Or they would try to make me feel like there was something wrong with me. So in those situations, like, you've got to observe. You're saying, like, observe, like, if you're believing those stories, but also observe if there's truth in, as in them not being abusive. And then your stories could be like, if I leave them, they'll have nobody. It's things like that, right? Or
Yes.
they can't handle me if I left, or I wouldn't be able to cope alone. Or these are also stories. It's not just
yes. There may be all of that going on, as well as abusive relationship behavior.
Yeah, it's about being.
The truth may not be, oh, they're all angels, and it's all me, and I'm. The truth may be that, yeah, this is abusive behavior.
It's like observing, taking the mess and the emotion out, and observing in a more logical way.
Well, be careful, because it sounds to me like that goes straight up into the mind. Yeah, if you don't want to just, that's turning a blind eye to the emotion, it feels to me like.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you're observing, I would start with yourself.
Yeah.
Observe yourself first. Okay, we'll get to them in a moment, right? But observe myself first. I'm feeling horrible here. I'm feeling on the receiving end of abusive behavior. I'm also feeling like I can't leave this person because he won't cope without me. I can't cope without him. And this is just so painful. I can't cope. So heal the pain. Keep healing the pain. Keep healing the pain. Yeah. And then you may recognize that, actually, this really is very abusive behavior. And my truth is that I don't really want to be in this relationship anymore. And you've cleared so much of your pain and your fear and your subconscious stories about feeling that you have to be in this relationship for all those reasons. You've cleared that out of the way, that you're strong enough to leave, or do what you need to do. Speak up for yourself, or try to talk it through and heal it, or whatever it is with them. Yeah. Your truth is your truth. And I'm not in a position to say that, but you'll know it better if you've cleared the mess. And by clearing the mess, the simplest way to clear the mess is to just heal the pain. Yeah. if we start to sort of like try to deduce what's going on in our minds, it becomes so complicated. It's almost like the subconscious trying to figure out the subconscious. It's like, oh, yeah. So step back a bit. Okay, this is going on. I feel horrible. And just keep addressing the pain. And you may already have your own ways of healing pain that you already know of. There's many, many ways of healing pain. So you can do that, or you can try mine out, which is observing and very softly just watching the pain and softening the body and letting it go, which we've done a few times by Harak already on the calls. And you can find more of. I also do something on Fridays. I've just started. I've only done 2 of them so far. Also on the Ohanajo Awake platform, called Channeled Meditations. It's basically me intuiting what is most needed by the group that's attending my Zoom call on those. It's at 7:30 Malaysia time on a Friday, and I'm intuiting what to bring through for you, and it might come through to just talk you through and share with you a full-on healing of how to heal our uncomfortable emotions, how to heal our pain. So that may come through again, but I have already shared it on the platform, so it is around. And in the replays of these Zoom calls, for those of you who are new to these Zoom calls on Monday, the replays, there's lots of material. There's 13 now, including this one. Take your time if you want to go back to them, and lots of material on things that come up in relationships. So yes, my suggestion is to allow yourself to observe the emotion in those cases, and then you'll have more clarity about what this behavior really is this really abusive behavior, or am I, because there are sometimes there's a belief about the self that is of no self-worth whatsoever. I'm rubbish, I'm worth nothing, and you don't even recognize a behavior as abusive because you've got such low self-esteem.
I think
that can happen in subconscious. Yes, sweetie.
Sorry, I was just like, I want to make sure I don't do this again, like anymore. But like, I think because my dad would say a lot of nasty things, especially post stuff he would do. He'd come home angry, and it wasn't about us. So he would say a lot of things, and I just kind of go, oh, it doesn't matter, It's not about me. It's about him. He's a mess. Things like that. And then so this first boyfriend, I was like, told myself I'm going to get married to him. And he was the boyfriend for life, because that's how I believed. I was very romantic. I was in that mindset. And God, thank God. But the point is that I invested like 6 years into that relationship because that was how determined I was. And I think I'm very passive to very nasty comments and things, and just said, oh, that's okay. It's not about me. It's not about me.
Absolutely. There's your subconscious pattern. There's the belief. It doesn't matter. He's a mess. Nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
I'm on the receiving end of this, right? So that you're becoming able now, Baharak, to pinpoint those subconscious beliefs, yeah. So that's what. And so as a child, we go quickly into shock. We absorb everything that goes on around us, and if a parent walks in and just has lost the plot and everything, you just go into shock, and it's very difficult. Children don't have the ability to rationalize and heal themselves. They just don't do that, right? Or some do, but generally they don't. But that reaction of oh, it doesn't matter, he's a mess. Actually, at that point in time, you were in a lot of pain. As a child, you would have been in a lot of pain. So when it happens again, pay attention to the feeling. That's all you need to do.
I didn't share the pain, but I was, and I would heal myself, because I would get my mum's psychology books at even 15 and start reading them under the blanket, trying to figure out how to heal myself. But I was just like, I don't. I just keep seeing. Sometimes I do it. Sometimes I'm like numb to words said, and I'm like, oh.
Yes, that numbness is something to look at. Numbness can be a big clue as well, actually. I'm glad you've mentioned it, actually. Numbness. Now, when you're numb, when you're feeling numb, allow yourselves to feel numb. Don't resist it. I've spent years resisting numbness, and I got nowhere with it.
Didn't expect that.
Numbness is your starting point. It's your starting point. If you're feeling numb, you're feeling numb. We don't want to deny that, do we? I'm feeling numb. But basically because you've gone into another kind of shock, okay? And so the feelings are so extreme, I can't feel them. So I've gone straight into numbness. Okay, so in those moments, you just take yourself away, yeah? And allow yourselves to feel the numbness. And numbness is very difficult to feel because there's nothing there. So allow yourselves to feel nothing there. I've been there. I've had to do this myself, which is why I can share it with you. I've
But
been
what
in
do you
places
do when the
where I couldn't
numbness
feel
lasts for
anything at all.
months?
Just a moment, sweetie. Just let me just finish this sentence. There were times in my healing where I couldn't feel anything at all.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't feel anything at all because I was so truncated from my emotional body because I had so much repeated shock over the years that I just couldn't even go there, right? So
Yeah.
if you're at that point, I'm glad this has come up, allow yourself to be at that point and just observe yourself at that point. Okay, I can't feel anything. And someone helped me very much some time ago when I said to her, I said, I can't feel anything. She took my hand and she just did this. It's like a little sensation. It's like a little sensation. That's all she said. And it was enough for me to just allow myself to just feel nothing. And when you are very gentle with allowing yourselves to feel numbness, nothing, eventually something very gentle sort of surfaces. You'll start to sort of sense something. Okay? And just keep observing. Keep observing. Yeah? And then you'll come out of it. Maybe there's a sensation, maybe there isn't. Just really, the most important thing in healing is not to resist what's going on. If you resist it, you actually got nothing to heal. It's not there. It's not really fully present. Numbness can be fully present, even though it is numbness. Are you with me?
Mm.
In other words, acknowledge everything. Acknowledge every aspect of your experience, whether you are not feeling anything at all or whether you're in acute pain. Yeah? Both ends of the spectrum are equally valid because likely underneath the numbness, there's a lot of pain. When you're in acute pain, you can feel it and it's obvious what you've got to deal with. When you're in numbness, it's not so obvious. But if you're feeling nothing and there's some stuff going on, just be the observer, be aware that, okay, I'm feeling nothing. I'm just going to go and sit with this nothingness. I'm just going to sit with this and just not expect anything. Expect nothing when you're healing. Yeah, don't expect yourselves to heal. Just be there. Because when you're expecting yourself to heal, you're putting pressure on yourself to heal. And that's not really healing. Healing is like a loving mother who just holds the child. Be the loving mother who just holds the numbness. Not holds on to, but just observes the numbness. Be the loving mother that just observes the pain without holding on to it. Actually, hold is probably not the right word. Yeah? Somebody had their hand up. Sandra, did you have your hand up, sweetie, for a question?
Yeah, so this is like a continuum from what Baharat mentioned. I've been to a situation like her, but it's not with not in a romantic relationship. It's more like at workplace because I have a micromanaging boss. So at one point I really feel very numb, and then I also realized like I went through this cycle of after the numbness, the next stage of emotion I fall into was emptiness. And then after the emptiness, I also catch myself at one point I was kind of jaded with life. And
Yes.
then it become physical, like it just surface I become physical, like I have a lot of palpitation, panic attacks, and then I think that was like the final blow where I realized like I have to completely let go, not physically let go, but uh, I I I I kind of force myself to do the inner work to let go because it was just so unhealthy that it become physical.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you for sharing that. It's a very helpful example for all of us, all those layers that you've been through, and everything, and identifying them. Yeah, yeah. It's important not to try too hard to identify all of this. Yeah, just to have a notion of things, and just to keep watching it. Okay, there it is, and do your very best to heal it. Yeah. And then you may have the clarity that actually, I can go back to work today and speak up. It may or may not work, but at least I have the inner strength to say, actually, you can trust me. I can do this work. It's okay. You don't need to worry about it. You can let go, or whatever it is that you want to say to your boss that's your truth. Or yeah, beautiful sharing. Layers. They will come in layers, and they will come in sort of sensations. There's a sensation to stuff. When you're very cut off from your emotional body, look for those sensations. Yeah. All right, beautiful. So let me just stick with what is real. What is the truth, right? How can I distinguish between subconscious stories and the truth? And what I quoted to you from a previous healer of mine, actually he's an existing healer actually still, truth equals what is. Yeah. The ego or our subconscious stories will distort our perception of what is true, of facts. Yeah. And it's only when we transcend the ego, in other words, when we start to heal these subconscious stories and keep healing our pain, yeah, that our perception of the truth becomes clear and we can see it for fact. I hope that helps. I know it's a disappointing answer to the ego. That's why I was saying to you, you won't like my answer, because it's not always easy to distinguish the truth when we're caught up in subconscious stories. It's just really not easy. It's like, oh, there's confusion. That's why I mentioned look out for confusion. Yeah, it's not always easy. But the more you do this work, and you don't have to plow through it and plow in, oh God, I got to go off and heal, try, because it's a journey and it's something that I practice every day. Do it in a way that you feel okay with it, because you'll give up. If it's such a labor to do it, you will give up. And that's the end of your healing. So try to practice this in whichever way really works for you, however often and however long for. If you're sort of forcing yourself to heal, then you may not be able to stick to it, because, it's going to take probably some years, let's face it. Yeah. But, I've got to a point now where I actually, not today, but on most occasions, I really love it. I love it because I heal a lot, and a lot is removed in my moments when I'm healing myself, and more to the point, I'm loving myself. It's an act of self-love, isn't it? So remind yourself that I'm loving myself right now, and that actually is healing in its own right. Yeah. So choose to do your healing in a way that works for you. I've said this before. Pick and choose from what you've learned from the likes of me and other teachers, and make it your own. Shape it, mold it, do it the way you want to do it, and become your own healer. So then you can actually not depend on anybody outside of yourself. Yeah. And just have you, and you can do it any time of day or night. I do this in the middle of the night sometimes when I wake up with anxiety. I'm like, okay, open mouth, breathing, softening, watching. I detach, I let this go. Okay. So the truth I've written down here can feel elusive, yeah, because we're so blinded by our subconscious stories. But the more we are able, and I'm just reading what I've written here because there's quite a lot here, the more you are able to just look within and be utterly vulnerable with what's going on inside of you. Yeah. The clearer you will be, and the easier it will be to recognize the truth. We won't be sort of adhering or attaching any of our associations and perspectives and things on it that come from subconscious stories and past pain. If there's any doubt about whether you are behaving from a subconscious story, just spend some time looking inwards. If there's any doubt, that's your moment as well. If I'm doubting this, why not have a little bit of self-reflection and just go, okay, I wonder. Not, oh God, beat myself up, I'm going into it again. None of that. You'll regress in your healing, because you're then hurting yourself. Yeah. But I wonder whether I'm in a subconscious story here. It's quite nice sometimes to just simply ponder on it. And if you feel sometimes curious about where it might come from, then why not go there? But don't make it too much of a habit, because it can be a distraction that will ping you out of your emotions and into your mind. So watch out for that. And if you're in doubt and you really haven't got any clarity, what do you think you need to do? Just picking up from what I've just said. If you're in doubt and haven't got any clarity, what do I do?
Look
So,
inward.
go inwards and Putri? Your microphone is muted.
Observe.
To
Yeah.
look inward and
Observe and what? Go inside, observe. I love them. Yes, definitely. Anything else? The big one that we're missing. And this is important. That's why I'm asking the question. If you're
Like-
in doubt,
Oh, I think you just said just now, like listen to the subconscious voice, like try to observe from outside.
observe, yes. Remember, observing is a sort of detached space. It's like you watching yourself and everything that's going on. There's another one there. Yes, Bahara.
Ask the question or ask a question of yourself.
You could. None of these are wrong. What I'm getting at here is to allow yourself to doubt. Yeah. What I'm pinpointing here is being careful not to resist it. It is, right? We're not wanting to resist what is. I'm doubting. I'm a bit confused. I'm a bit doubtful. I'm wondering. Okay, I'm just going to allow myself to be in the space of doubt. Most of the time, we don't want to be in doubt because it's a bit unsafe, right? I'm inviting you to just be okay with doubt. Okay, I'm doubting this. I'm not sure, so I'm just going to be not sure. I'm not sure, so I'm just going to be not sure. What kind of feelings come up when I'm feeling doubtful? Oh, I got a little one release already there. Yeah. Maybe I'm doubting myself. Maybe I'm doubting the situation. Maybe I'm doubting them. Maybe I'm just not sure. I'm doubting whether I'm in a subconscious story or not. So I'm just going to allow myself to feel and be in this doubt. Soften to it. There's huge leaps and bounds that we can make towards our true selves when we remove resistance. Watch out for resistance. It's what gets in the way. Yeah. It is what it is. Yeah. No judgment. I'm just not sure. I'm just confused right now. I doubt, what's going on. So start with the doubt. Just be in it. And just let it take you wherever it's going to take you. Reach for nothing. Look for nothing. Let it just open itself up to you. That's what happens eventually in healing. Yeah. Things will just sort of pop up and off they go. It's not as difficult as we think. It doesn't have to be some psychological pulling apart of things and remembering and regressing into childhood. It really doesn't anymore. There's quicker ways to do this. And it's by simply just acknowledging what is, whether it's doubt, what was the other one that we talked about earlier on? Confusion, whatever it is. Numbness, that's right. Whether it's numbness, emptiness. It's not wrong to feel emptiness unless you judge it as wrong. It's not wrong to feel doubt unless you judge it as wrong. And the minute you're judging your experience, you've lost the experience. You've gone into another experience, which is judging it. We don't want to go there as well. It's just like, oh, horrible. Okay, so I'm doubting. I don't know. What does it feel like? I'm just going to be with that. Yeah. So be with the experience, whatever it is. That's a really important point. And either way, I just want to end off this sort of point on truth. Either way, whether we know whether something is fact or a subconscious story, or whether we're in doubt about it, either way, if you're in pain, you've got something to do, haven't you? Heal. If you're in pain, doesn't really matter. Heal. Whatever modality you choose, you like, works for you, use it, heal. let it go, let it go, let it go. And let it go is a horrible word that all of us alternative teachers use, because until you know how to let it go, it's really annoying. It's like, how do I let this go? Yeah, practice. And the best way to let go is to soften, 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 like melting ice cream. I've used this example many times before. These girls have heard me say this many times before because it's the best way I know, that I know anyway. Observe. Don't align with it. It's just a feeling. It's just a vibration. It's just an emotion. Yes, it could be very uncomfortable, but it's not me. It's not all of me. It's not my whole life. It's just a feeling. So I can actually, you know what I can do? I can actually kind of like watch this. Okay, this is an experience that's happening right now with no judgment whatsoever, from a neutral space. Beautiful experience eventually. As you come to practice it, you'll get better and better at it exponentially, because the more you go within, the more you practice spending time inside of yourselves, the quicker you and better you get at doing this. And it becomes a beautiful practice. I don't know any better practice, and I've tried quite a lot in my life. 20 years. Yeah. And I started this practice about 2.5 to 3 years ago, and I've done more healing in these years than I've done in 20 or 17. I'm not dismissing other practices. You know what works for you. This works for me, and that's why I share it. Yeah, but it's worth trying. Okay, so let's move on, because we're already well past whatever the time is over there. Is it 10 o'clock? Okay, so we've talked already quite a lot about this. How to remove. This is key eye opener number 3, is how to remove a subconscious story. We've figured out how to spot it. Yeah, we've figured out how to recognize it at work. We know what it is. We know how it plays itself out in the dynamics in a relationship. And that's how we, with noticing our emotions, are they relevant to what's going on? Are they disproportionate to what's going on? Is it a repeat? Is this a pattern that I've been here before? Yeah, those things to look out for. Yeah. So I've already said this, I'm going to say it again. This is how we remove the pain from a subconscious story. Yeah. The first point is to be utterly vulnerable with yourselves and gentle with yourselves. Very important. Because the opposite of gentle is brittle, because we're resisting. We're not going into resistance anymore. We're just going to be, okay, there it is. That's okay. I see you. I see you. I know you're there. You're there. Mm-hmm. Just be open to the possibility that an old wound has opened up. Yeah, our subconscious stories come from old wounds. Yeah, unhealed wounds. Yeah, that's why they keep popping up. So because it's an old wound, you want to be gentle with yourself. You don't want to be brittle or resisted. It's time to heal it. And the chances are that if it's popped up, it's perfect time for healing. Yeah, because it's up at the surface. Mm-hmm. So be very gentle with yourselves and vulnerable, soft, like a truly loving mother to yourself. That ideal loving mother, that divine mother that you all know how she feels for yourself, be that for you. Be fully present. I'm not going to run away from this. I'm not going to brush this under the carpet anymore. I'm not going to resist it. I'm just going to be present with it and watch it. So you're going to have to own it, yeah? Instead of sending it back, go, hey, that's your fault. Yeah, and the classic ping pong match that happens in a relationship, we're going to own it. Be vulnerable, be gentle, own it. This is my experience. I'm having this. It's happening inside of me, not out there. It's happening inside of me. So I guess I need to own it, right? Doesn't mean I need to align with it, but I do need to own it and acknowledge it. It's much more empowering to do this work than to respond from the wound. When we respond from the wound, that hurt, that open wound, we go nowhere. We're much more likely to ruin our relationships than enhance them. And we don't want that anymore, do we? We're done with that. We're done with those patterns, yeah? So it's much more empowering for you to own it, even though to the ego doesn't want to own it. The ego wants to send it right back and hurt back. We've all done that before. we've all blamed, judged, and said it's your fault. We don't care about that anymore. It doesn't get us anywhere when we blame. But what is empowering is being fully aware of what's going on inside of myself and how I'm feeling. That doesn't feel so comfortable right now, so I'm just going to soften to it. Watch it. There it is in my belly or in my heart or in my throat. I detach. I let it go. That's a beautiful way of loving yourself and a beautiful way to heal. So like I said, we won't always know the exact root cause of the subconscious story, but we don't really need to know it. Unless it's for fun and you're not in pain and you're going, I wonder why I was feeling that. Maybe after you've healed, you can have a little moment if you're interested in psychology, which I am. And of course, I like to delve and I'm curious as well, but because it helps me with my work, but it's not necessary for the actual healing process. Okay, so I'm going to take you a little bit deeper now into the healing. There are times when we're in a lot of pain and it's very charged emotion, and we're finding it a little bit difficult to just let it go by the simple process that I've just shown you, yeah? And if you are aware, like some of you have already shown that you have an awareness of those little beliefs. Oh, he can't cope without me, Baharak. I can't cope without him. Oh, it doesn't matter. He's just a mess. Those sentences, this is how I heal. I don't need to utter the beliefs anymore because I can do it now directly with the feeling. But you can also, if you feel inclined to, just if you're very aware of your beliefs, you can actually say the sentence. Saying the sentence out loud of your belief, and this is very important, watching yourself say it. I'm not going, for example, I could, there's a difference between this. Notice the difference between, oh, he's just a mess. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I can't cope with him. I can't cope without him. He can't cope without me. No, I can't cope without him. I'm absolutely aligned with my belief. Yeah? As opposed to, and this is what I'm inviting you to do, I'm inviting you to do this one. He can't cope without me. I release this belief now on all levels. I detach. There's a very big difference here. One is you're totally aligned with the pain and the belief. And the other one is the ability to actually detach yourself and see that there's a belief there. And when you say it like that, very slowly, quite neutrally, aware of the feeling that goes alongside it, but also aware that it's a feeling and aware that there's a belief attached to it, I can say, it doesn't matter. My dad doesn't love me. I'm not believing it when I'm saying it. Yeah, I'm just watching myself say it. It takes a little bit of practice. I'm taking a little bit deeper into this practice now. But there is an opportunity to utter the words in a kind of neutral place whilst you're aware of your emotions, you're aware of your self-healing, you're aware of yourself observing, and I can just say, whatever the belief is, not my dad doesn't love me, aligned with the pain, and down I go again, plunge into deeper hell and more pain. And we're not doing that, we're doing the absolute opposite. And it seems contradictory to utter the belief because people have been probably banging on about positive affirmations, which is not my thing. My thing is, and this is something that you can choose to do or not, is to just simply utter the belief. This is how I've healed a lot, with a neutral, from a neutral perspective and detached. Let me see if I've got something here. Okay, here's some more. Okay, just an example. So first of all, you're really soft here. You've really done your breathing with an open mouth. You've softened yourself. I can't cope alone. I am no good at parenting. All the time, I'm aware of my inner self. I'm aware of my emotions and I'm aware of these beliefs. And I'm just uttering them because it helps me see what kind of belief I'm telling myself. I'm just watching this. And you may find that more come up. You just keep saying them and be very, very careful to just watch them. And at the end, I detach from all of this now. I release all of these beliefs now on all levels. That's the healing practice that I've been doing together with the observing and the softening to the emotions and letting them go for the last 2.5 years. And I've come further in that time than have in 20 years. I've applied myself more, I have to say, but I found it easier to do this. And now I can do it without even saying the belief. But if you find that it's very difficult, it's not moving, also be aware of where it is in your body. Yeah? It may be in your heart. And you may not be able to let it out of your heart because your throat may be a bit blocked as well. So you may want to work on both areas. So just practice going in and sensing the energy in your throat, sensing the energy in your heart. And it may come up on one of my Friday evening sessions, and I intuit them, so I don't really know what's going to come, but the chances are that it'll come up that I will probably take you into just, in fact, I did it. There's a replay 2 Fridays ago, my very first channeled meditations. There's a replay that helps you just travel inwards and sense the energies of you, what it's like to just feel the energy of my throat chakra. Yeah, and just soften those energies. So you can go to the replay, but I may do something similar in future sessions. So if you want to join, you're very welcome. Okay, so if you recognize the subconscious story, if you recognize a belief, you can actually utter the words that belong to that belief, but make sure you do it very slowly, quite neutrally, simply observing the emotion and fully detached. So that, because what you're doing is you're bringing awareness to yourself that this is a belief that I've just been telling myself all these years. Instead of, I can't control myself, I can't manage in life, there you're all aligned with the pain and the belief, and you're all tensing up again and holding on to it. And what we're doing is letting go of it. It's a practice. Don't beat yourselves up if you can't manage it at first. It took me a while to get it. It took me some months to get it. So just have a go. Have a go. And I've written in big, black, bold here, very important to detach and watch the beliefs and not align with them. So say them really slowly. When you say them abnormally slowly, it'll help you realize that you're not sort of saying them like, with all the emotions attached to them. You're just saying them really purposefully slowly. Okay? And then allow some deep breaths to let them go afterwards. All right, good. So we've come to the end of the 3 key eye openers. I'm just going to recap and open up for some very brief questions because we've run over quite a lot. I always do, by the way. My sessions are usually 1.5 hours to 2 hours long. A lot to say. Recap to, first of all, understand what a subconscious story is. I hope that by now you have understood what a subconscious story is. It's a belief, basically, that we have about ourselves, others, life itself even. Oh, why is this happening to me? I'm a victim of life. Life is a nasty place. The universe is a nasty place, and it's all horrible. That's a belief. Yeah. Okay. And just to identify them. Yeah. Key eye opener number 2, recognize when they are at work. Yeah. By watching your emotions, how proportionate are they to what's going on? Yeah. Have I gone into confusion and feelings of fear? Have I gone numb? Just recognize, pay attention to the emotions. Yeah. Are they totally relevant to what's happening right now? Is it a repeated pattern that I recognize in myself now? Okay, that's key eye opener number 2. And key eye opener number 3 is a process that I've just taken you through briefly. It's through explanation. We haven't actually done it fully, to remove a subconscious story. So it's acknowledging the pain. Just acknowledge it. Acknowledge means just notice. There's nothing more to acknowledging other than simply noticing that this is my pain. I'm having this experience. Yeah. You can utter the beliefs, do it very, very slowly, very detached, yeah? Soften to everything that's going on and let it go. And I would just add one thing here. Ask for guidance. Ask your higher selves to help you with this. Call upon the highest divine flow. Sometimes when I'm really in the thick of pain, I go, highest divine flow, please just help me with this one. And I just breathe and feel the feelings, just let it all go. Sometimes I utter the belief, but I don't do that anymore. But you may find that works for you. You may not like it. Try it out for size. Yeah. And as always, I always share to finish off one last secret. But before I do that, has anybody got anything they want to ask? Please, if you can keep it brief, because I know that it's late for you guys. It's lunchtime or after lunch for me here, but it's late for you. So does anybody have any questions at this point, or anything they want to share, or how you're feeling right now? Have I helped at all? Yes, Puchi.
I don't have question, just that I've been absorbing a lot of when I meet people. So I've been absorbing a lot of their pain or in the shoulder. So whenever I because I'm doing healing every day, like chakra healing and healing my energies. So when I meet people, I can feel everything in their body. And when they talk, when they feel depressed, I could feel like it's suppressing. So I don't know what to do. But today class, it really helped me to, to observe the emotion, yeah, and also how to let go. And I'm going to practice this. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm so glad to get that kind of feedback. You make my job worth it. Thank you so much. Good, that's good to hear. There's another thing that you can do, because I know that you're it's basically like an empath. And of course, when you're doing your own healing, you're very vulnerable and everything. And, we could be surrounded by all kinds of energies around us. And we have done a session on boundaries before, but in this particular case, as you're obviously deeply empathetic, perhaps deeply sensitive to other people's feelings, and it's not always easy to know what's mine and what's theirs. You can utter things like the words, if what I'm experiencing right now is not mine, leave my body and my energy system immediately. Something along those lines. If this is not mine, leave my space, my energy space, immediately. I let you go. Something along those lines. You can make up your own version of that. Yeah, whatever. It doesn't have to be my words. And actually, I prefer it not to be my words, Puchi. I prefer it to be yours, because it'll work much better for you. And perhaps in your mother tongue, if English is not your mother tongue. Yeah. Same for anybody here. Yeah. If you feel like you're picking up on other people's energies, or you're not sure, just you can say that, yeah, or your own version. And actually, you've led me beautifully, Putri, into my secret. Anybody else got any questions before I go into it's not really a secret. It's never a secret, is it? It's a truth. I should call it a truth, but I just like to tease you and play with you and call it a secret. And here it is. Keep going within. Keep going within. Because what you're looking for is inside of you. It's inside, not in your partner. And find your own ways of connecting within. Make it a practice that becomes a lifestyle. We have spent our lives focused outwards, and we haven't found the answers to our problems, right? Most of us. Some maybe yes, and maybe passing solutions. But the real solutions, and those feelings and experiences that you're really looking for, they exist within you, which means you can go anywhere and be with anyone and have those lovely experiences. It's all inside. And the more you keep going within, the more you will have those lovely experiences. And the more you are developing that lovely connection with you, which is really what's missing in the equation at the end of the day. It's my relationship with me that's missing in the equation. We're looking to find those solutions out there and want him or her to behave this way and that way, but Really, if I have it all within, which we do, we just ain't connected with it yet, or some of us perhaps not fully, then I don't need it to turn up outside of me, because I can just enjoy life exactly for what it is. And there's your fact, there's your truth. Then you can just enjoy life without these lenses that put us into pain. And if life is at one point not enjoyable, you can say, you know what? I don't really need this anymore, so I'm going to change it. And that's up to you how you change it. So keep exploring inside. Spend time just reflecting within. Look for nothing inside of you. Let it show itself to you. The ego will reach and want to look, because the ego wants to heal now. I want that. I want to heal now. Yeah. That's you getting in the way of yourself, or your ego getting in the way of you, of your own healing or your own process. So just be really vulnerable and soft and just look and observe. Spend time observing your inner world. And if there's nothing there, then observe nothing without resisting it. Don't expect anything of your inner world. We don't know what it looks like because we ain't been there, the truth. We haven't really been there deep enough, maybe a bit here and there. Let it show itself to you, because you don't know what to expect. You don't know what it looks like. Be surprised. And keep trying out new ways. Keep trying out new ways, your own ways. You can pick and choose what you like from what I've shared. I'm not gospel. I'm just sharing with you, as I always say, what has worked for me. And there are a million ways to heal. This isn't the only one. It's the one I have found works best for me. But try it out for size. Maybe, play with it. See how it works. Make up your own healing techniques. Become your own healer, truly. It's a deeply personal journey, and nobody can do this for you. Don't go to any workshops expecting to come out with perfect relationships or perfect parent or whatever they promise. I'm sorry to say that. I've done that. Paid all that money and, go for it. It can open doors, though. They can open doors. A lot of these workshops are very useful in the sense that they open doors. They give you ideas. They help you go in one way, in a different way to, you can learn ways in which to go inside yourself and stuff like that. So they can be deeply helpful. A lot of what Ohana Joe does is beautiful, actually. The sound healing, the meditations, all of that, takes you in. Pick and choose. So I've got written here, healing is not like a prescribed medicine. It's a journey, and it's a beautiful one. And it's not easy to start the journey because you just think, oh God, I don't want to do this. But after a while, it becomes a very beautiful practice. So stick at it, because we ain't got much choice right now. We do have to heal and open our eyes and fall in love with ourselves all over again. And then everything else. I'll leave you with that. Thank you very much for joining, everybody. I hope that today has helped open your eyes to a few new ways of recognizing subconscious stories and how to spot them and remove them. Keep practicing. Love you so much, and hope to see you again in the next calls. Have a beautiful night. Bye for now.